Firstly, congratulations on Scared Shitless being selected for Fright Fest. It's the 25th anniversary of the festival. How are you feeling about the selection and the screening?
Very excited. No, very excited and very honored. We all are, it's been sorry. It's been no, it's been an insane ride kind of thing from, the very beginning, from coming on board, and meeting the guys and to yeah, to shooting and to the prep and or to the post and what have you and now we're here and yeah, we couldn't be happier with the reception. It's we were all, it's one thing, all good and well when you really love your own movie and you're really happy and proud of it. But it's always, what are they going to think? What's the audience going to think? And so far we've been very blessed and that feeling is mutual. So yeah, I can't wait to see what how everyone reacts and overseas and it's my first time at Fright Fest, so no, I'm very excited and excited to be at the Odeon. That's kind of a dream as well, yeah. So yeah, no, we're very excited, definitely.
And for those who haven't read up on the film yet, how have you been describing Scared Shitless to people?
Uh, it's a throwback for sure, but but it's contemporary. Its sensibility is more throwback. It's not a grindhouse type of movie. The only thing I think some people might, because of the title, they might think it's a bit schlocky or there's different expectations. You know what I mean? Like it's funny, like for in Canada at least, scared shitless is a real term. When you're so it's going to be the ultimate, in being scared. And there's no fecal or shit in the movie. It's a something that Brandon really wanted to instill and what he had in the script and working together. What we did was make sure that we have a real movie, with a beginning and a middle and end and real characters that we can sympathize with and identify with and follow their growth through the film and have that pay off and yeah, just be like, how can we have like a really kind of feel good movie, but have our scares, have our laughs, have our gross outs at the same time. And yeah, and we really felt good about accomplishing that. And so far it feels like audiences agree. And yeah, so I don't know if that exactly answers your question, but yeah, I think if you like a throwback 80s movie that feels good, horror with your scares and your gore and what have you, then Scared Shitless is your movie.
It's very different from your previous movie, Seven Stages to Achieve Eternal Bliss. What was it about, this story and this style that drew you in?
Well, I think it's like Seven Stages definitely it was just a different movie, and that's really all it was. That was it was more of a dark comedy. There was no horror elements to it. And I came from or come from like more of a comedy background. Horror was like a love of mine, but I never, it was strange that yeah, that was just something I loved and it was kind of my thing that I enjoyed on my own. And so yeah, that's why Seven Stages is definitely more of a dark comedy. It was definitely like the gore, and it's a little bit more bombastic in terms of the comedy, the physical comedy, and a little bit more edgy. Or I would say, yeah, like maybe not edgy, but I would say just a little bit more R rated. I would say with Scared Shitless, and I think you know they're just two very different movies with two very different tones, and there was get more elements to. Sorry, you have guests. I just like I don't know if you can hear that, but but yeah, but they were equally as fulfilling movies, just in different directions, kind of thing, And yeah, that's with Scared Shitless, I got the opportunity to work with creatures again, and work with effects, and do horror. And the more I do horror, the more I really love the fact that I can have my kind of true love, my cake and eat it too, kind of thing. And yeah, so that's that's essentially, for me, that was like the difference.
Mm. And the film quite rightly utilizes practical effects, and you've got the legend that is Steven Konstanski on board. What was it like shooting with these creations? Because I mean, just when you're watching the film, it looks fun, and it must have been like 10 times more so behind the scenes.
It's fun after the fact. You know what I'm saying? I like it's you're working, like people say, you don't never work with children and animals, and I think you can put practical effects in that as well, because like everything that can go wrong will go wrong. They're Steve, they're quite meticulous and a lot of working parts, and what they have to go through. You know what I mean? You don't have like two or three to break. They're very expensive. So it's a pretty demanding job, for Steve and myself to be able to kind of shoot things, and you're restricted a lot with what you can do and what you can't see and everything. But the payoff is just incredible. You know what I mean? Like, but it's I think even more so now, going further into my next films, the less I'll want to use CG, because it is so satisfying after. You know what I mean? It's so worth it. And yeah, and ultimately, I think that's kind of what I want to strive for, is just being able to make movies with no CG whatsoever, all practical effects. And there's something very, very, like you're able to touch it and see it and think and know exactly what it's kind of going to look like. There's some things, obviously, taking strings out and what have you with movements, and that can be hard to judge. And but yeah, I think I, I don't ever want to do CG if at all possible.
Yeah. And you mentioned this is a throwback to sort of the films from the 80s, early 90s. Back then there was so many films, utilizing practical effects and, creatures run amok sort of stories. They kind of sadly have taken a back seat, and, CG has kind of, pushed through. Are you kind of hoping that maybe, getting a film like Scared Shitless out there, it might sort of reawaken people's appetite for these sort of films, and we might see a new movement of more of these films coming through?
I would hope so. I would hope so. You know what I mean? Like ultimately, at the end of the day, you're just trying to tell a good story, and that's first and foremost. And, you know, kind of embracing the craft, the physical craft with practical effects, what I mean, as well, combined with just a good fundamental story. And you can have your insanity with it. But I think, I'm sure there's a lot of movies that are just insane for the sake of being insane, and they're amazing, but they don't kind of stand the test of time, like just a good story with good effects or good acting and good what have you, and strong fundamentals. And that's something we definitely prided ourselves on. And I think you know it's about telling a story because you have something to say. And a lot of times people are just making movies just because to scare, or just to laugh, or just to gross out. And that's not enough. You know what I mean? That's only one aspect of it. And story and character really have to be in the front seat. So yeah, I think hopefully more people take the time to really get the scripts down and get them in a good place, first and foremost. And yeah, and also length was something that we really thought about, because you don't want to sit in the theater for forever, and then just like it's, if you can get in and get out, tell a good story and entertain and leave them wanting more. I think you've really got something. And there's exceptions, obviously, like Dune or 2001. You know what I mean? But it's just like, you it's really just like how you kind of, put your story out there and for how long, and kind of respect the audience's time and attention as well.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely appreciated this film's runtime because it doesn't venture into that overstaying its welcome. I guess there in another world there could be a version of this film that's another 20, 30 minutes, but then it's what you're putting into that 20, 30 minutes is clearly non-essential because it works, it's really tightly paced, but it still has that sort of central crux of this father and son story, and man, there's a lot of sort of environmental statements kind of being made as well, so you don't need to necessarily always have a film that is 3 days long when you can say it much much more succinctly.
Yeah, we're all busy. We got places to be, things to do. You know what I mean? And it gives you opportunity to see more movies.
Exactly. Also, I feel that kind of this runtime means in terms of programming for, festivals and theaters, you can put this on at any time of day. If it goes on at midnight, you're still not home particularly late. If you put something like Dune on at midnight, then well, you're not getting home until the next day. It Yeah, it's nice that it is kind of nice and short in that respect. But mentioning the father and son, you've got Stephen Ogg as the father. What was he like to work with? I've interviewed him recently, and I say I interviewed him. He basically interviewed himself. So how was how was he to direct? How was he to work with?
Fantastic. He's awesome. No, he's everything you'd want to work with and more. No, and like I said, and Steve is definitely, one of the few, like he's a real artist. He's a real actor, so to speak. And it's rarity that someone can straddle both sides. The dramatic side, the comedy side as well, and improv, and it be very good and genuine and in the moment. And he did it effortlessly, and and it was never just funny for the sake of being funny. It was always on the trajectory of the story, the character, the arc, the moment, what have you. And yeah, that was something I never had to rein in. And to be honest, that's something you always worry about when you're doing comedy drama, or even just doing comedy, and there's someone that has maybe more of a dramatic background coming in. It's always like, how are they going to do the comedy? But Steve's always done that too. That's the other thing. And he's been in some great comedies. Like, I don't know if you guys got to see Stand Against Evil. It was Dana Gould's show. It was like a little, I think it only had 1 or 2 seasons, unfortunately. It was very funny. He was like a were-pony, like he turned into a pony kind of thing. And he was just completely straight, the comedy, but he was fantastic. But even in Walking Dead, his character, was one of the, it was like genuinely funny and sincere and believable. And he was a fucking villain, and no, he's awesome. He's awesome. He's the best. I tend to try to work with the same people as much as possible, and yeah, and it just kind of keep moving and collect and going up. But yeah, it's Steve. I hope I get to work with for the rest of my life for sure.
And without any spoilers, in the grand tradition of horror, Scared Shitless leaves the door potentially open for a sequel. Is that
Yeah.
something that maybe you'd like to develop at some point in the future?
Oh, absolutely. No, I would love to. I would love to. You know what I mean? We'll see what Brandon and Lewis have in store, and it's yeah, we've had very early conversations and stuff, but it's I know that's what they want, and hopefully they have me on board again, and yeah, absolutely, absolutely, it'd be a lot of fun.
And as Frightfesters are working out exactly what they're going to see, why do you hope that they add Scared Shitless to their lineup?
Sorry, what was that?
Why do you hope that Frightfesters put this film on their lineup to go and watch?
Oh, why do I hope they put it on the list?
Yeah, so like obviously at the moment, all of the people going to Fright Fest, they're picking what films they're going to be watching and when. Why do you hope that they take a chance on this one?
Well, I think so they can see what Canadian horror is all about and our sensibility, you know. And we put out a lot of good music, you know, but we also do horror. We do horror very, very, very well. You know, you know, not in the same league or whatever, in the same thing, but like, you know, from Cronenberg to Kostansky, we've got a lot of really good Canadian filmmakers, and I hope that, you know, when people start thinking about horror and where that's coming from, that people start thinking about Canada, you know, and we are a completely Canadian film, and we're very proud of that, and we're happy to be representing Canada.